Welcome to the Sober Unicorn. We are a gay-hosted, all-inclusive podcast about sobriety and addiction recovery for the LGBT plus community and all of our allies. I am your host, Holden, and thank you for joining us today. Hey, it's Holden. I am an alcoholic. I hope everybody's doing well today. Today, I'm being joined by Beau.
Hi.
Hey, Beau, how are you doing today?
I'm great. How are you, Holden?
Doing fabulous. It's another Saturday morning, so I mean it's great to be awake and sober. So Beau and I actually connected via Instagram. I don't know who added who first, but I think just through following each other and kind of seeing each other's journey, I wanted Beau kind of reach out to me to want to join the podcast and share his story. Um, and just kind of give everybody some like experience, strength, and hope on what he went through and where he is today. So, Beau, what is your, of course, age, sobriety date, and what your drug of choice was?
So, my name is Beau. I'm an alcoholic. I dabbled a little in drugs, but I'm certainly an alcoholic. I'm 39 years old, and my sobriety date is September 22nd, 2019. And it's great to be on the podcast and meet you. What you
Awesome.
do,
Well,
what you do is amazing. So I'm glad to be a part of it.
thank you. I'm glad to have you a part of it. So, before going into any program to get sober, before you kind of lead into the subject of the episode, give us a little bit of a backstory on what finally led to you needing and wanting to get sober.
It's a loaded question, but I was a blackout drinker. I've been in the restaurant business my entire career, so I've always been around it. I started as a chef, and during high school, I didn't really party much. Um, but once I went to college, it was like game on. I mean, I had a couple blackouts when I was like 13, 14, and I liked it. But when went away to college, I mean, it was game on, and drugs were part of it. Alcohol, it spiraled, and people around me knew I had a problem long before I did. Um, and as life goes on, I didn't do anything about it. And I started bartending. I started becoming a bar manager. I went through a lot of life changes. I got married to my ex-husband when I was 24, so I was pretty young. And the marriage only lasted a couple years and didn't end well. And that fueled a lot of depression. And when I moved back home, I really took it out on everyone, including myself. And I just kind of spiraled out of control for a long time, nearly a decade, where it was just drink to blackout. But I think in hindsight, when I look back on it, I was progressing in a bar career that now that I'm sober and I look back on it, I kept moving up the ranks to get myself closer and closer to free booze and this party lifestyle that I wanted, and all these quote unquote friends that I had. And eventually, I ended up leaving the bar world and joined, and I'm still a part of a liquor and wine distribution company. So um, then then I really thought drinking was my job. So, and I was getting paid for it and an expense account. So, um, for an alcoholic, it's a dream come true. Like that's a dream job. But I found myself um, now in a corporate world where other people were seeing my behavior and it wasn't normal. And I got to travel all over the world and go to different distilleries and things. And we would drink from 7 in the morning. So, nighttime, but people, took spurts, drank water, had meals. I was go, 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 go. And it caused a lot of problems. There was quite a few work events and trips that kind of put a spotlight on me. And further, the further I got, you know, I was so worried about getting fired all the time, waking up not knowing where my car was, um, how I got home, just really scary things, ending up in the hospital, bruises that I don't know where they came from. And I kept putting more toxic people in my personal life too. I was seeing toxic people at toxic friendships, and it was a lot of codependent relationships with people. Um, and then, I was burning bridges with my family who didn't deserve it. And so when, in 2018, it had gotten so bad that I was uninvited to Thanksgiving, which is my favorite holiday. So I spent the day at home drinking by myself. They had 3 bottles of wine, a bunch of whiskey, and I decided I wanted to take my life. So I was, um, going down that rabbit hole, and luckily I reached out to a friend, but the police came, brought me to the hospital. I woke up, um, and I was in a room that I wasn't allowed out of. My family was there, and it was almost like, all right, this is it. Um, and so the very next day, I went to my first 12-step meeting, um, and my family was there with me. And I knew that things had to change because you know, I wanted the love of my family back. Um, and I started going, and I thought I was committed to it, but I wasn't. I was going to meetings, going home, and having a couple shots. I wasn't in 100% because I still didn't. I got half of step one, and it was, I knew my life was unmanageable, but it wasn't the alcohol's problem. It wasn't the alcohol that caused this. Of course, it's because I'm depressed. It's because of this. It's because I have all these resentments. It's how people treated me. Um, so many excuses. So I think I lasted about 35, 40 days. And I went back out, and, I went on a 9-month bender. Really, I caused, to the point where my last work trip, I started having suicidal thoughts and vocalizing them. And that really set off the alarms. And I think on the flight back from Kentucky is when I had my first spiritual experience where this is just not working anymore. And I'm so fortunate, and I'll never be able to express the gratitude. It's still why I'm with my company. It's one of the main reasons. They treat people like family. And I met with the CEO of our president of her company, and I just, broke down in that office. There was, my manager, his manager, and the president. And I just said, I can't do this anymore. I'll do whatever you want. I didn't care about my job anymore. And I looked at them and I said, I think my life is on the line. And that I was just so fortunate that they allowed me to take a leave of absence, go to outpatient treatment. And because I guess I needed to go out and get my ass kicked a little bit. You think a suicide attempt would be enough to help you get sober, but it wasn't. Um, so I went to outpatient treatment. I got into smart recovery, refuge. The whole Buddhist principle thing really appealed to me. I loved, I've always wanted to meditate. So I was like, all right, that sounds really cool. I had you know, a weird religious upbringing. So that was kind of, um, one thing that got in my way the first time into the rooms. But I really latched onto the 12-step program that I'm a part of now. And I love it. And once I got in that room that I go to every morning, I was embraced. I felt empathy and love. And slowly I started to love myself and do the work. And, you know, the pandemic hit, that kind of put a wrench in my program and my routine. But I had to adapt because that's all I could do. I wasn't going to go back to where I was because I loved where I am now. So, we went back to live meetings a few months ago, and slowly I'm putting my routine back together, and I love it. And that's kind of where I am today.
Well, I mean, I'm super glad that you didn't go through a suicide because if you did, you wouldn't be able to share the story of success that you are now with other people who are struggling just as much as you were in their own ways. And so it's like, I think that higher power, God, whatever you want to use the term as, there's a purpose for all of us. And I mean, I think that's why the attempt didn't go through or be completed because you're here to be where you are now, where you are today, to be able to share what you have to share. And hopefully people can resonate with your story. And I know that through the 12 step program, we have many sayings, many acronyms that some we hate, some we love to death. And I mean, I know for me, keep coming back is one that I absolutely despise. Um,
Like, what other
But
choice do I
yeah,
have?
they're like, keep coming back because you're a fucked up bitch. No. Um, so but I know one is that kind of resonates with me and is hungry, angry, lonely, tired. They refer to it as halt.
Mhm.
And that's something for me that I have to when I experience any of those symptoms, especially when all four of them hit at one time, like it damn near drives me back out every
Yeah.
single time. And so I have like, what is your experience with halts and especially kind of breaking it down from hungry, then going into angry, then lonely,
Yeah.
and then tired, and then how you work through them, especially with multiple hit you at one time.
Yeah, I think it's so important to me. Um, I think what I get out of halt and how I stay away from these triggers is by having a consistent routine and a program in my life. Um, I got to lose a little weight, I feel like. So no one's going to accuse me of being hungry. Um, but what I'm doing is my passion has always been food. So the more I can cook, um, the more, I mean, it's just like a passion of mine and I love it. So when I'm in the kitchen, I'm not thinking about drinking. I'm thinking about creating art on a plate, you know, whoever I'm cooking for. Now it's, I don't do it professionally. I do it at home. It's an act of love. When I was out drinking, I cook once in a while, but if, if, I wasn't creating something beautiful, I was, heating up some Easy Mac. Like I was not in a good place. And, I didn't want to stop. I didn't want to stop the party to have something to eat. I'd sure like to spend money. So I'd go out to a fancy dinner, but, and I'd have no problem ordering way too much food. My purpose there was to order 3 bottles of wine, a couple cocktails beforehand, espresso martinis after. Where are we going next? I have an obsession for more, but my addiction is in that realm. Um, and I guess that kind of relates to food too. I like good food, but yeah, I try not to stay hungry. And with what I do, I travel to different stores and restaurants and bars throughout the day. So I know it's important to leave the house with a breakfast in me. Um, and along my route, if I get hungry, I need to stop. And, recently, the more I've been out, I find, your mindset is always like, oh, I got to get to the next place. I got to get there. Um, but now I'm like, if I have to stop for food, I'm not going to pull up to McDonald's and eat in the parking lot. I'm going to get something I want to eat, but sit down. I can still work from a booth and take a half hour. And it's kind of like hitting that pause button. It's like, okay, let's take a little break on the day. Let's breathe, and enjoy food. Um, so yeah, that's how I, try not to stay hungry, um, and angry. Oh, that's the hard one. So yeah, I'm on the road all the time. So, it's easy to get road rage and I like to drive fast and I like to get from A to B. So it's always something I'm working on. But there's a guy in our group that really emphasizes the use of the pause button and hit that pause button. And you can meditate wherever and whenever and doing anything, but I find it anytime I'm anxious, angry, nervous, if I just stop and if I can just close my eyes and do some deep breathing for 10 seconds, whatever emotion that gives my body and my mind enough time to realize this is this is happening now and it won't matter later, and I can stay in the present. If it's a bigger issue, I can just, put it to the side. We had our business meeting today, so I love to table things. I'm like, oh, I can table this. My higher power can take care of this. Because the biggest part of this program, I think, is if you're a 12-step program, is once you get to step 3 and realize, you're not God. There's that was big for me. I'm like, okay, so I don't have to be the manager of the universe. And I don't that means I don't have to be the manager of my own life. And that's great. I'm like, okay. Um, so, you know, I do find myself get angry and frustrated. Uh, because life sucks. There's things going on in the world I have no control over that upset me so much, and I can only do what I can do. And getting upset about it or letting it affect my sobriety is, scary, because I don't, fear and anger drove me down a spiral of despair that almost ended my life. And so I'm very cognizant of it. you know I get angry if the computer doesn't work right or something stupid, and it's just then that I have to just take a moment to realize it's really not the end of the world. I mean, most of my problems are, you know first world problems. I'm very privileged, and I'm aware of it. I live in a beautiful country, and I have so many rights that a lot of people don't have, and I have a lot less worries that people have in the world. And I'm grateful every day that I don't have to face what other people are facing. I have empathy for them, but it also grounds me, and it lets me know whatever I'm angry about, it's really not that big of a deal. I always remember, like, there's a book that came out, like, when I was a kid, like, it won't matter in 100 years from now or something like that. And it's always a cool thought, because I'm like, oh, 100 years from now, will this matter? Will it matter a year from now? Will it matter 30 days? Will it matter 10 minutes from now? And if I can say no to them, those are the ones I can toss aside and move on with my day. um
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna say with hungry, I'm kind of the same way. I'm a big girl, so
yeah.
I don't get hungry often, but when I do, hungry immediately leads me to anger because I'm
Yeah.
one of those people that I get very hangry. So I know in order for me to avoid hanger, I'm like the epitome of a Snickers commercial. You need to always at least keep me fed to avoid that. Um, but anger, I mean, we allow anger to infiltrate our lives every day, all day when it comes to coworkers, bosses, personal life, guys on the internet, dating apps. I mean, and I think anger kind of stems from, at least for me, it stems from that the people didn't react the way I wanted them to.
Yes.
Because in my addiction and in my entire life, I have felt I'm in control. And so if the bitch didn't do what I wanted her to do, that would set off my anger, which in turn would be, oh, well, I had a shitty day and I'm so mad. I need to go get a shot of something because
Yeah.
I thought that would just alleviate the anger. Although what it did was it calmed me down, at least in that moment. But then the next morning, I'm now still pissed off and
Mhm.
now hungover. It's just, again, the cycle.
It's a
And
temporary solution. It's not healthy. I mean, I
exactly.
understand. I
So it's like,
understand. It sounds
step.
like when it sounds like we share that impatience with people not following our plan. It's like, why aren't you on Holden's plan? Why aren't you on Beau's plan? What's wrong with you? And now I have to react to it.
Yeah. So now I kind of react a lot better way. I think when I hear halt, all I think of is like a dog trainer that the dog is going a million miles an hour, and the trainer just screaming halt, and that dog in an instantaneous ceasing everything and goes from running a million miles an hour to stopping in his place. And that is so important for at least me because it's like I have to remind myself, pause, halt. Because before it gets that anger level where resentment's builds and I'm like wanting to drink over it, I have to tell myself, halt, stop, and just chill. Be where you like for me, be where your feet are in that moment, and
Mhm.
just take a breath. Taking a breath, as you said, that 10 seconds of breathing. Like I told my sponsor, I said, breathe in and then breathe out the bullshit. And it's
Yeah.
2 to 3 breaths later make a huge difference for me.
Yeah, we are programmed different in our addictive brains to be reactive and short tempered and self centered. And that's really, the basis of my anger is being inconvenienced. How dare you drive 65 in the left lane? I'm trying to do 95. Yeah, maybe I should slow down a little. Maybe they should move over, technically, but um, I can't be up their ass and beeping the horn, because it's not sober behavior. It's not what I've been taught, and it gets me nowhere. It's not going to get me there any sooner, and it's all it could do is cause more problems. Whether it's road rage, an accident, you know, I don't need any of that on my conscience. And it's, this program teaches you so many valuable tools. And every meeting I go to, I pick up more tools to put in my toolbox. And the tools are, because the main reason you go is so you stop using, you stop drinking. Um, but they say stay for your thinking, and it's reprogramming how to handle everyday life events like a civilized person.
Yes.
Um, yeah. And so I guess loneliness is next.
Yes. I mean, I was gonna ask that is like we as I mean, at least I'm single. I can't tell if you're single or not, but being single, especially, it creates a lot of loneliness when you have a day off and you're just sitting at home alone in an empty house with nobody just to talk to. And I mean, not even in the romantic portion of it, but maybe your friends are busy. So it's like when you're in that solemnness of just sitting there by yourself, like when a bar is a mile and a half down the road, it's like, how do you deal with that?
Well, first, yes, I am single and happily, but I'll let the universe figure it out. I mean, I'm not searching for anything, and that's all I've been searching for the last 2.5 years is peace and serenity. If I can find someone in my life that benefits that, and I don't think they need to be sober per se, just respectful of what I'm doing in my life, and not, I don't want somebody that's a sloppy drunk. That's the last thing I want. That's somebody that's respectful, but somebody that can be supportive. I think that's really, I've had to lose quite a few friendships because they weren't supportive of where I was going, or that they were kind of like those drinking buddies. Um, but I realize now in hindsight, they were just making me more lonely, because I wasn't getting a genuine connection with them. So I was fake, they were fake. And you go home and you're like, oh, okay, that was fun. I have to find a different group of friends to hang out with tomorrow because I probably made an ass of myself last night. Um, but now, I'll tell you, I do, I do not feel lonely. I go to a 7:30 a.m. meeting every single morning. I sit in the same seat. There's we found out today the meeting's been going on for 26 years. And there's people that have been in that room the entire time, or close to it, and they've sat in the same seats. When I walk in that room, I feel like I'm in home. You know, it's my home. Because there's so much sobriety in that room, but and it's right across the street from my high school, so it's so funny to me that, like, wow, look where I got myself. But the great thing is, like, you are invested in each other's lives, and there's no price tag I could put on that. And I'm super grateful that I have this meeting. Like, I was saying this at the meeting a couple days ago. I said, you know, not everybody has a daily meeting around them. But after experience, my first 3 months at that meeting, I would drive 100 miles each way if I had to, because this is, my family. You talk to people, and I can't wait to get up. Like, I can't wait to get up in the morning, go to the meeting. I lead on, I lead a day. I was, the booker last year and the secretary this year. I get involved. I do service. We hung out in the parking lot for an hour and 15 minutes today talking about everything under the sun, me and two of my friends in the program. So I don't feel lonely, and I have genuine relationships. Um, there's points, there were points over the pandemic where I was very lonely. And I felt like the only person I was talking to was my therapist. Um, and I was in a toxic living situation. So I did feel some loneliness. So I had to get out. I had to get out and walk. And if I can't be a person, I can get in tune with nature. Um, I can go outside and see birds flying, and I know that I'm not alone. The birds aren't going to talk to me or land on my shoulder, and it's not, what is it, Cinderella? It's but it's more complex than that. It's the universe. My higher power is more of Mother Earth, Father Time, a universal kind of, you know spirit around the universe. um that's what I can conceptualize. So when I go out or outside, or I focus, or I meditate, that's who I commune with. And so at no point am I actually alone. because I have a higher power that I don't have a face on or a voice to. It's just a feeling I have. So I can turn to that any point I need to. But it's, picking up the phone, calling people. I hear in the rooms like your sobriety changes the second you get a sponsee. And I recently got my first sponsee, and that has taken all the onus. I don't think about myself anymore, which is great because there's too much in my head already. So it's amazing to have somebody else to call, and that is, not relying on you, but you're helping them. And it's all what the 12 steps are about. And it has changed my sobriety because it's like, it's 8:30 and I haven't heard from him. Let me give him a call. Let me make sure he's okay. Not maybe I should have another Snickers bar. It helps with all of those. You know, if if I'm just the other two, like if I'm hungry or angry, um, I can also, pick up the phone and call him or call anyone in the program that I'm friends with and bounce ideas off or be like, this is what's bothering me. The program offers so much fellowship that all you have to do is reach your hand out and take advantage of it. Don't be, go early, stay late, what they say,
Yeah.
talk to people, get a setup commitment, or, you know, that's the way you meet people. And you have these instant bonds because you're both alcoholics, you're both addicts, you both understand what it feels like to go through these things. And as you recover together, these bonds that you form are just so much stronger than anything I've ever felt in 20 years of traveling the world and being this quote unquote celebrity bartender. Like I didn't have those genuine connections with people I do now. And and my relationships with my family are better than they've ever been. So like, and the friends that I've kept from before I got sober are my genuine friends I'll have for a lifetime. I always hear that people come into your life for a reason, a season, or lifetime, and that really makes sense. And I know it's a less people that are not in my life anymore by choice. It's for a reason that they were in my life for a certain period of time, and that I have such enriched relationships now that it's very, you know, it's very infrequent when I feel really lonely. and I
Yeah.
have, and I have every streaming service possible, so I can, you know, I can delve into a fantasy world at any point.
I mean, I do like what you said about loneliness. Like, you're never alone if you have a higher power in your life.
Hmm.
Because I would say loneliness for me is probably the biggest struggle on a daily basis. Um, and it's when if I'm busy, and that's I tell people idle mind is very dangerous for me, because when I have an idle mind is when I'm thinking about drinking, or no, well, how, like, not thinking about drinking all the time, but that's when I start thinking of the loneliness and the lack thereof, a potential relationship or friendship or whatever. And then that's when it starts to think, okay, let me go drink to drown these feelings out. And so the program, the fellowship, especially, that's when I think that's when I lean on my fellows the most, is when I get in those lonely spots, because it's like I don't need to sleep with you. I just need to let me come over, watch a movie. Just having somebody else present is what is needed, just to have another body there. And it's so important to surround yourself with people that genuinely care,
Hmm.
because trust and believe, like so many friendships that I had in the past that I thought were so genuine were fake as hell, but
Hmm.
on both sides, because we were both drinking heavily and not being our true authentic self. And I think the program, you become so authentic and you wear your heart on your sleeve with no lying, no deceit, no fakeness, that the relationships that you build there are probably the most genuine friendships built, and like are kind of, as you said, like a lifetime friendship. And so for me, like loneliness, I don't have any damn streaming services, so I don't really watch TV. But I know that at least for loneliness, for me, that's when I lean on my fellows the most, is so I don't spend too much time by myself.
Yeah, and besides my morning group in early sobriety, I mentioned those other groups I was going to, and I had some, some interactions with people I really enjoyed. But I never had like a big circle of gay friends. I was never in that kind of clique. I was in college. I mean, in college, when you're a twink, you're the center of attention. It's fine. Um, but you're also 100 pounds, like doing blow and drinking all night. And again, that wasn't, you know, and after I left that and I got married young, I never had that opportunity to have those group of gay guy friends. So, um, where I live in New Jersey, um, we're lucky to have a bunch of gay meetings. At the beginning of sobriety, I was going to two, three a week. Um, and the pandemic happened. I was going to my morning meeting on Zoom, but I kind of lost touch with those guys. And the last month, I mean, about when I got my sponsee, I was like, oh, I got to get to more meetings. I got to hear other perspectives. I got to go to meetings he's not coming to, so I can steal ideas and bring them back. But just kidding. But I mean, not really. I mean, picking up different tools and how other people work the program, work with their sponsors and sponsees. But it's been really cool the last month. They're like, oh, you're coming around again. I said, well, I didn't stop coming around, I just stopped coming here. But it's really nice. And there's new guys there too. So, it's nice to see different faces and expand your network. So that's been really cool for me too. Is the last few weeks, a month, to start getting back in that routine because I'm very routine oriented, and I'm sure when we wrap up, I'll talk more about that. But um, it's so nice to like on Monday and Friday night, I know I got something to do, even if it's just an hour. I'm gonna see people I like. They're gonna ask me how I'm doing. I get to talk to them, so it's more fellowship.
Yeah, it's never an hour too, because it's like it's
It's no.
I go there like 30 minutes early to hang out, do the fellowship, then you have the hour meeting, and then at least the meeting I go to is 10 p.m. at night.
Mm.
And so the afterwards too, I'm like, um, we're out there for like an hour. We don't leave till like midnight. And so that's when I'm exhausted constantly. And
Yeah,
I think that's going to tie us into the last portion of Halt is
sure.
between work meetings. Now you have a sponsee. We get tired. We have personal life, our laundry life, our errands, our work. I mean, how do you cope with being just so damn tired, but still having the energy to still make sure you still go to the meetings and not take a meeting off and so on?
Well, I wake up every day and I know that my life's on the line. So there's nothing more important than my sobriety. Anything that's important in my life, if I don't put sobriety above it, all of it goes to shit. I lose everything. And I'll lose my life. It might not be tomorrow, it might, but it's inevitable. There's a proven track record of when I use my willpower and I want to take the wheel, I do destructive things. When I was out drinking, I had a nickname Bonado because I would go into places and leave a path of destruction. And it's not a cute nickname. I was in another group earlier this year when we reclosed for COVID for a couple of weeks. And the guy, he's like, "You're so calm and all about serenity." He's like, "I'm going to nickname you Bo Renity." And I was like, oh, I like Bonado, kind of flowed more, but it's Bo Renity is more my style nowadays. But being tired, like I had a doctor's appointment with my new general physician yesterday, and she's getting all caught up on my life and all these things. And she's like, "So what's exciting in your life?" And I'm like, "Oh, not much." I said, I wake up, I meditate, I go to a meeting, I go to work, I come home, I cook dinner. Oh, that's, that's what I do. Um, but it's a routine. So I don't feel tired. I didn't sleep as well last night because I was, a lot going on today, and being with you. I'm trying to get all my thoughts together, but I used to be out. I mean, I used to go to bed at 5 in the morning and, wake up in the afternoon. I am completely reversed now. I go to bed 8:30, 9 o'clock, like, and I'm up at 5. And, I put on a cup of coffee. I sit and I meditate for about 20 minutes. I center myself, um, have my coffee. I'll look at my work computer, see where, kind of get a glimpse of what the day is, but not focus on it. And next thing you know, I'm at my morning meeting. And that's how that's how I need to start my day, especially in the business I am around alcohol. It's in my car, like it's in my house. It's like, but I'm in 10 stores a day. It's everywhere in my face. And I have to differentiate work with my life. And it hasn't, it wasn't easy, but I think I'm at a point where I have set boundaries on both sides and I live by them and I feel comfortable. Um, but yeah, I get a good amount of sleep. And yesterday, you know, I burned it at both ends. I was up early. I set up on Fridays. I lead, I break down, and then I had to drive a little bit for work and do some errands. And it was like 1:30. I had lunch and it was 1:30 and I just felt really tired. And I knew you know, if I didn't take a nap, if I didn't kind of like, I was never going to make my 8 o'clock meeting. And I really wanted to go to it for the fellowship and all the things we just talked about, that I'm really enjoying there. So yeah, I put on a movie from the 90s that I knew I wasn't going to stay awake for. Um, it was just throwing a Nicolas Cage movie, and I was asleep for 2.5 hours, and it was great. I woke up, I felt refreshed, and it was like I just have to listen to my body. If my body says I'm tired and I can't do something, I can't do it. My mental health, my sobriety are all in tune with my physical health. Um, I need to, once it gets nicer, I'm going to do more exercise and things. I think that'll help me too. Um, but getting a good night's sleep and listening to my body is I mean, just as important as everything else. I mean, you know, it's just it's where you need to be. It's if somebody invites me to something and it's, I can make exceptions and go out later, but I have to adjust the rest of my schedule so that I'm not there and I'm not tired, and then I become cranky, leads me to be angry. Could be somewhere I can't eat, so I could be hungry. And then, I want to go off on my own and then I'm lonely. So like all any of these are domino effects. So it could be H through T, and then it could be T through H. Like they all could hit each other by, just not maintaining balance.
Balance is key. I know tiredness. I live in a state of exhaustion due to sleep apnea, work, school, podcast, owning another business.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I think I'm just used to being tired all the time. So it doesn't, at least in the portion of fault, tiredness is not affecting me as much. Just because I kind of live in a constant state of exhaustion.
Yeah, and I think that will come in time, because even in my first year of sobriety, it took me a lot of adjustments so that I wouldn't feel tired all the time. A side note, this um, so I get sober. Um, about 6 months later, mid pandemic, I don't know that I have an underlying blood condition, and I have 3 strokes in the middle of the summer. And if I wasn't sober, there is no doubt in my mind I wouldn't have recognized the signs the second time, and I'd be dead for sure. So sobriety saved my life multiple times, and that's why it is so important to me in services. But after that, I mean, at the side effects of that, I was lucky that I regained most of use of all my muscles. Everything is fine physically, but the biggest thing is I was tired all the time, and that's normal for a post stroke for 6 to months to a year. Um, so that kind of, I slept a lot. Like I couldn't work much. I'd get tired at 1 o'clock, and need to nap. But I let my company know, I said, this is where I'm at. Like, this is the amount of work I can do. I wasn't going to overexert myself, because I knew first, I knew this part of sobriety is that I don't want to, I can't be tired. But I knew that I had to listen to my body, because my body just went through a very traumatic experience. And so after that, once I celebrated a year, that was kind of right afterwards. But getting and maintaining appropriate rest became even more vital to not my sobriety, but more of my survivability.
Yeah, your health as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, of course, we're coming towards the end of the episode. So, is there anything you'd like to share that we haven't touched on?
I think, if I could synopsis this whole thing, it's to have a routine and a program. Um, I listen to some people that don't have a program, and I hope it works for them and I feel for them. I just know it works for me. I need to have a program in life. I need accountability and I need a routine. I need to do the things I do every day in the order I do them, whether it's boring or not. It's I don't care what other people think. Um, it's just what I need to do to save my life. It's just, so the advice I would give is if you have a meeting guide and you can find a place that has a meeting every day, attend it as much as often. Make that fellowship your family because they are people that are going to invest themselves every day in you. And if you can find something like that, it will change. It will change you, and it will fast track your sobriety because there's no bullshit in a group of 50 people every day. Um, so I would say that is a key, and having that routine. If you're going to join a 12-step program, get a sponsor, work the steps, everything. You know, everything they tell you to do, the suggestions, take them. I tried this once, doing it my way, it didn't work. Second time I came in, I said, I surrendered and I said, I'll do it your way. And here I am 2.5 years later. And, I'm grateful and I feel like a miracle.
Good. Well, congratulations on that 2.5 years. So, what would you tell the person in the LGBTQ community that's struggling right now?
Reach out for help, walk in a meeting. Um, there is no meeting, there's no instance I can recall where I didn't feel welcome or loved because when I introduce myself and say, I am Beau, I'm an alcoholic, that's all that matters. It's the only requirement to be there. And that's all people care about is how they can help you. Race, religion, creed, sexual orientation, how you identify has no bearing. I'm so glad the 12-step, fellowship I'm in has adapted our preamble to include people because I think it's just so much more inviting. But do not be afraid that you won't be welcomed or that you're different. Everyone is different. Everyone's got their own story. Um, find help. Find There's so many resources, but just don't let fear get in the way of saving your life. It is. I'm getting emotional thinking about it. It's just you know it's hard to come out, and it's hard. We have so much stigma around us that we put on ourselves, really. But we want, the gay people I know are happy, joyous, and free, and that's what we do in our program. Is we try to get back to there. There's this, I want to finish with this kind of. So there's one of my first speaker meetings I went to, and I tell the story pretty much anytime I share my story. Um, that there was this analogy that I just loved, and it stuck with me the whole time. And the gentleman that was speaking, I'll never know his name. I'll never remember what meeting it was, but he's up there and he said, "What this program is about is similar to when someone asked Michelangelo how he created the statue of David." And Michelangelo says, "There's a piece of marble, and I chipped away everything that wasn't David." And that's all we're doing here. I've added to it and say, well, we alcoholics and addicts, we have a tarp over the marble. So we got to peel that off, get dry, and start chipping away at it. And it takes a lot of time, and it's never going to be perfect. But it should take a lifetime to master. But that's all this is about. There's no reason to be afraid or 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 anything or have any misconceptions of the program. All we're trying to do is turn the marble that's around you into the person you're meant to be, so you can be of use to the world and to other alcoholics and addicts, and serve your purpose that a higher power of the universe has set in motion for you.
Exactly. So, thank you so much, Bo, for joining us. So, if anybody wants to get a hold of you or resonated with your story, how can they reach out to you?
They can find me on Instagram. It's Beau M. Keegan. M's for Matthew. And on Facebook, Beau Keegan. I'm on Twitter, but I don't tweet.
I don't know anybody that still does tweet other than
No,
celebrities.
it's
I'm
like,
gonna
yeah, I'm not on that level.
Thank you again for listening to today's episode. Hit that follow button to be notified about new episodes every week. If you'd like to reach out to us, you can find us on Instagram at The Sober Unicorn Podcast or on our website at thesoberunicornpodcast.com. There you will find our episodes as well as our very own sober-owned shop featuring products from small businesses that are sober-owned. And remember everyone, don't be normal, be a unicorn, but better yet, be a sober unicorn.